bailando solo en la oscuridad. Te vas a acostumbrar a ver toda la vida pasar.
From H&F Productions in Autobot City comes the most meme show on the internet. From the creators of Daniel's Sneeze, TF Toy Hunt 1, and Red Milk. Oh yeah, I'm talking about the meme masters themselves, Martini and Malachi. Together, they'll have amazing adventures of Thunder Dragon and Skywarping in the show that nobody asked for, but everybody needed. It's... Seekers in Crime.
Alrighty. Rightio. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. Another very fun, very awaited episode of Seekers in Crime. As you can see, Malachi and I had some plastic surgery. I really do enjoy how our look. I think we're looking pretty crispy. By the way, the music that was playing on the weight room, I don't know, that's a band that is from my country, so I wanted to kind of show off their musical talent because I really like them. And yeah, very, very excited for today's episode and today's guest. Sadly, Malachi apparently he's showing no signs of life. So I hope, fingers crossed, that he'll be joining later. Alrighty then. First of, I wanted to start off the stream before we introduce our guests and get on with the whole, thing. Our guest, the first thing that I wanted to start with is a teaser that DJ and I have been working on a certain project. The last episode, I think it was, that I showed it to you guys. We talked a little bit about it. So yeah, we made a teaser, and I'm going to show it off right now. First things to start off the stream well. So here we go.
Hello? Who's this?
Hello, Batman. I recommend you don't bother tracking me. You won't be able to. I suggest, instead of wasting time, you listen. Because your life as you know it is about to change. Everyone around you are now targets. I'm not going to say who exactly. You know, as to not spoil the fun. But let's just say it's not gonna be pretty. Not for you, or for any of them. But don't worry. After I'm done toying with you, I'll make it quick.
Who are you? And what do you want?
Nothing more than to make you pay for what you did to me. I'll see you soon. Bruce.
So yeah, guys, that was the teaser to start off the live stream for the project that I've been working on with DJ. We titled it Batman the Gotham Knight. It's going to be starring Deathstroke, and I guess you got there a little small reveal. We're going to be making a YouTube channel later on where we upload this teaser and of course everything that comes along, with the project. But yeah. Now, let's get on to the main event. This person this beautiful individual has been contributing a lot to this project. You can't even imagine how much. We have been wanting him on the show for a while, and the day has finally come. So, I'm gonna. I think we should inaugurate also the Secret and Crime Band to properly introduce him. So
It's an
yeah, ladies
honor
and
to be on
gentlemen,
this.
Pepsi Man is the one and only guest for today. How are you doing, man?
I am doing very, very good. How are you?
Pretty good. Not gonna lie. Out here on my window, it's a very lovely day. So yeah, let's get onto the good stuff. So for you who don't know, Pepsi Man is the one and only lad that has made mainly. I mean, well, he has made two designs that we cannot show because it's confidential.
Super top secret.
Yes, sir. But the ones we can talk about is, of course, these two beautiful gentlemen. Well, there's me and there's Malachi. So of course you designed Thundercracker and Skywarp. Am I right?
Indeed, I did. Indeed, I did.
Awesome. So the first thing that I want to ask you, and I think a lot of people want to know, is how the hell do you come up with this? Because this is freaking amazing.
It's always difficult to describe my process of designing something, but if you kind of analyze both designs, there's a little bit of there's some design elements taken from around the fandom, like toys from 2009, some unreleased designs like the Protoform Starscream from the 2007 toy line. But mainly what I do is I kind of think of the personalities in my mind, and even though I didn't have the personalities that are going to be portrayed in the film when I was creating these, I kind of just think of how I would want them to act, sort of act it out in my head, and then just sort of just design as I go. And I mean, of course, not every design's going to be perfect. I might go back and redo some of the Thundercracker, but I'm very pleased with Skywarp.
That's awesome to hear. And well, of course, Malachi and or I mean, I can speak for both of us when we say that we too are a very pleased with these designs. I mean, like getting more onto the meat and greedy of it. I'll start off with Thundercracker because he's like more my character and like the area, I guess, where I can
Yeah,
talk about. Starting off with Thundercracker. Now, this design looks really. It's so good. I immediately recognized that you used like as an inspiration like the Studio Series toy because the head sculpt is really similar to it.
definitely.
But
Yeah,
adding
yeah.
it
The
that like extra menacing, like aspect to it. And another thing is that well, at least like now that I think about the voice and like the voices that Malachi and I did, and how the personalities like shine through on the design. So, for example, in Thundercracker's case, at least the vibe that I get from it is like he has, well, of course, he has the two big cannons on on his arms, and the connection like tubes of I don't know what it is, like acid or ion or whatever it is, but it gives me this vibe that Thundercracker is like the more brain part of the equation, if you will, where he's this like I guess it takes an aspect of the Cybertron games where he's this like scientist and implements some of the stuff in the weapons that he uses.
definitely. Yeah, and yeah, I was just thinking that his weapons could be hooked up to his brain. In I mean, of course, the Transformers, they use their weapons obviously with their brains, but I was thinking he could be a more uh, intelligent Decepticon with the way he uses his weapons, and so having them constantly hooked up to himself was an interesting idea I was toying around with. But I'm glad you picked up on that. That was something I thought would be lost in translation.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that it shines through the design. It really, I mean, also it I like the face is menacing. And I mean, it's really menacing. Like the spider like eyes, they're really like scary looking, especially because I
Very
hate
inspired by the
spider.
studio series.
Yeah, very very much inspired by the studio series. But as I admire the fact that you made it work because I don't like the studio series. I don't like it.
I don't. Yeah, me neither.
But
In concept, I think it could have worked, but
yeah,
some elements I liked, and I just tried to adapt,
exactly.
basically.
Yeah, and of course one of those is the head sculpt, and I gotta admire. Admire you like how you made it work. I like tweaked it and made this huge like menacing design. Like when this thing becomes a 3D model, it's gonna be insane.
I'm very excited to see that.
And yeah, and for example, moving on to Skywarp now, a thing that I can admire from Skywarp also is that if I'm not mistaken, you based it around like Malachi's voice clip that I sent you, right?
Indeed, I did.
Yeah, and of course, and it shines so much like this brute, more like dumb, I guess, personality that shines through it. But however, it keeps this aspect that even though he's not like that smart, like Skyward really gives this vibe of someone who's very fast and like very
Yeah,
agile, and also has big guns.
exactly. Yeah, and it was really nice to have both voice files because I designed Thundercracker before I got the voice file for the little clip. But Skywarp, when I got him, I instantly knew what I wanted to do with him, and I wanted to, as mentioned by Lord Horror, make him a little more like Starscream was in the Bayverse movies, whilst also giving him the classic G1 alt form, alt mode. And it was a really interesting. It took me 8 tries to get to the design we landed on, but it was a really interesting game to try to balance all those features, and I think it worked in the end.
Oh yeah, definitely. That I mean, these two designs are amazing. Really, really cool. And I like the
Thank you.
a small. I mean, I have a really keen eye on like details, and something I also can admire is in terms of Skywarp's face, like how you gave him like lips and added like adapted the original Starscream like head to the more like humanized aesthetic that the Bayverse adopted in Age of Extinction.
Yeah, Lockdown was a big inspiration for the face. Just because I kind of liked the more insectoid look I gave Thundercracker, but I wanted Skywarp to be distinctly different, especially in the head. They both share the Bayverse Starscream sort of guidelines, especially Skywarp. But I wanted to give him that more modernized look since the evolution of the world of the Michael Bay Transformers, they get more realistic faces. So as it goes on, of course, this design would adapt, but it wouldn't lose that original helmet look.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And also another keen eye, I mean keen detail that I can appreciate is that you like obviously I mean you making them from scratch, you like draw them, but I can appreciate that you like integrated what looks to be Shockwave's cannons from the Nightmares design.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy you're the first one who noticed that. I wanted to add because the one thing I loved about I loved the Bumblebee movie, but the one thing I loved about the designs of the Seekers was that their I'll call them null rays for now were attached to their wings or their backs, and I loved that look. And so I wanted to do something where maybe these guns, like if it would allow it in the movie, they could be moved around his body, so they could be like over the shoulders cannons, and then they could move to his sides, or they can collapse on the back and form like a little cape. It's like I wanted to be very versatile whilst also homaging the Nightverse, which my main goal with all these is to homage every corner of the Transformers fandom, and hoping I'm doing a good job.
Definitely are. I mean, I cannot deny that this looks freaking awesome. Like these two models, I gotta give it to you, man. They really are amazing. And Malachi and I, we're gonna be happier. Like again, when these things are transformed into CGI models, they will look insane, virtually insane.
I'm so excited to see that happen.
Yeah, and also like I mean just the little details, like for example the like fingernails I guess, or like the syringes that they have like for claws, the shared
Oh yeah,
like Starscream legs.
yeah, yeah. I wanted to make sure that that was kept because I think the chicken legs of the Bayverse Starscream, love them or hate them, they're iconic to his design, and so
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to keep them in there,
Yeah.
which I
Okay, so
personally love them.
for example, SG asks, what was the hardest part about designing each body?
The hardest part was since I grew up on Generation 1 and even some of my own personal projects where I sort of do this thing, I make realistic versions of Transformers. They're very much so G1 inspired bots. I don't know if you remember the Megatron that I made, but unmistakably G1. So the hardest part was to blend the two and make it a love letter to G1 and what Michael Bay did, because I didn't grow up on the Michael Bay movies. Only recently have I come to really appreciate them for what they are. And it was a real struggle not to make the heads boxy or like, make the arms square, And it was also to make them super detailed whilst also not looking messy. Huge props to the design teams on the Nightverse and Bayverse movies. I mean, they have like impossible tasks to both make designs that'll be iconic and remembered, but also look like the characters that they're trying to portray. Um, that was probably the biggest struggle, making sure they looked faithful to both universes that I'm trying to homage.
Okay. It did asks, how long did each of synthesis incredible of each of these incredible designs take? Like, how long did you work on Thundercracker for, and how long did you work on Skyward for?
So, Thundercracker, I'm gonna exclude the coloring time because that was just kind of over the week. But Thundercracker took 8 hours to fully draw and sort of ink, and then Skywarp took 5 hours to do.
Uh,
The coloring time took probably over the span of 5 days. I did Thundercracker, and it was a lot easier with Skywarp because it was more dulled gray colors. So I don't know how long it took for Skywarp, but Thundercracker was obviously the one that took the longest. And yeah, yeah, I hope it shows. I hope it shows.
Wait, but that's insane. So wait, the actual like painting of the designs took more than the sketch?
Yeah, so for me when I draw my characters, I don't really think of the colorization when I'm actually going on. So when it comes to actually coloring, it is insanely hard to get a good balance of colors because you don't want everything to be the same color, and you don't want everything you don't want more. My design philosophy is I don't want more than 5 colors, like primary colors on my characters, because then they'll look messy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was this really hard balance of like how much gray would I use, how much blue would I use, is this too G1, is this going to be distracting from the design itself, because the legs on Thundercracker are originally a lighter blue to match his upper torso. And so it took me a few tries to get the right shade of blue, and it was a lot of just sitting down thinking, um just 2-hour sessions. Sometimes I was just like bored and I recolored them to be Starscream instead. Uh but yeah, yeah, coloring is always the trickiest part of my concepts because I have an image in my mind of what the line work would be, And then when it comes to doing the coloring, it's a little challenging, but it when you get the right one, you know it, and then it speeds up the process.
Wow, that's crazy. I literally would have thought that the hardest part would be like the drawing, like the thought process. You know, like what do I want to do for this? What do I want to how I want to make it look? I would think that that was like the drawing it the would be the hardest part instead of coloring. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's still interesting to me when I'm actually drawing the characters. Like there is no single point where I go from okay, how am I going to design this to me basically finalizing it. There's no point where I get confidence in what I'm doing until I look at it and take a step back when it's done. And it's odd. I mean, every single time I've done it, it takes like 3 tries to get what I want, but it all kind of comes together in the end really neatly once I do a few test runs. And that's why I start on paper usually, and then I digitally do it afterwards because I think you have a lot more creative freedom when you're sketching on paper because you can kind of it's this weird thing in my mind, I bet, but I kind of just am more comfortable designing intricate details on paper and then translating them to digital because I mean, I can add more digitally.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's this interesting thing and I mean, you'll ask any artist, the hardest thing for an artist to describe is how their process goes. And so
Right.
yeah, it's challenging but it's really fun. Really really fun.
Mm-hmm. So, like you said before, for example, you envisioned like Skywarp's null rays being able to shift around like his body for more like dynamics. I wanted to know like what was your like thought process like behind Thundercracker's weaponry or his fighting style, I guess.
So my thought process behind Thundercracker, it's kind of interesting. Originally, I had him. I don't know if it comes across super clearly, but my original inspiration for his design was Bane from DC Comics, and eventually I kind of shifted away from that, but I kept a few elements from it. And so what I was thinking is he could be this really really smart character who uses his weapons. They might not be as powerful as maybe say Thundercrackers, Skywarps, but he could use the ends of his cannons as like shields, or like he can combine them together like Megatron in the first live action Transformers movie and make one big cannon. And it's always charged up by his energon count. And so maybe with like Skywarps, his is charged with like separate ammunition, but Thundercracker like pumps himself with energon to make his cannons more powerful. Of course, this isn't like canonical to the film. That's just what I was thinking. My head canon as I was drawing the character.
Mm-hmm.
And so the tubes originally were a bright purple, and then I turned them to green just so it could be, whatever they want to do with the design they can do. But my original idea was, you know, constantly pumping himself with energon to become not only smarter but to use his weapons more effectively and have a lot more firepower.
Right. So Thundercracker definitely like takes into account the aspect of the analytics around like when he's fighting someone, and not just like how am I going to beat him, but more like what conditions are there going to be in my favor so I can defeat like my enemy.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And okay, so SGE asks if you could design any other seekers, who'd it be? Now I know that you designed a Starscream like with the G1 colors. I'm trying and download that real quick so I can show it over here on the on the stream. But apart from that, like for example, Acid Storm or Iron Storm or the other seekers that there are, would you like be keen on designing any of those?
Definitely. One of my favorite secret designs is actually the cone heads, and so thrust or ramjet would be uh, one of the two that I would want to design next. I actually have designed them. Let me see if I can quickly get this from my art page, and if you don't mind, I would like to promote my art page on Instagram that actually has some of these concepts that aren't for the actual film, but are very much so in the same vein.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll come at the end. I have another thing I want to talk about when we're ending off the stream, but let me see. Take a quick second here. Yep. I'm just gonna send you some of these if you wanna somehow pull them up.
Yeah, sure. I can do that. I can do that. Um.
Cool.
So yeah. Another thing um that I wanted to ask you is like, for example, God damn it, the question just slipped my mind. Oh, okay. So yeah. So Leo Swanigan, I think it's pronounced. Ask what was your favorite part of each design?
Part of each design. That's a really good question. Um, Definitely with Thundercracker. I Oh, there he is.
Yep.
With Thundercracker, I love the arm cannons. I took the because as much as I like the null rays or cannons to be mounted to the shoulders, I love having them on the forearms, sort of like Megatron's cannons. And so that was also one inspiration. And so I kind of like how beefy and like bulky they are. And yeah, that's my favorite part of Thundercracker. With Skywarp, ah man, there's two things I love about Skywarp. I love his face. It's probably my favorite face I've ever designed. And I love the way the arm is designed, where it has sort of these intricately curved and also jagged armoring that's going on over the internal body. I think
Mm-hmm.
that just something about it. I don't know what my inspiration was when I was designing it, but I don't know. I think it's just very visually appealing to at least me.
Right. Yeah.
And there,
Yeah. I
then
can
I
see. I can see what you mean. Definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
And so those are my two favorite things.
I'll plop here the main seeker, the most famous one. Now, of course, there's a lot of things that this Starscream shared with uh the the Skywarp design. But I mean, I wanted to show this because this looks really good, and I think you made like some slight changes to the head sculpt, but I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, shamelessly, since this was just a personal project, I just traced over the actual Bayverse head design for Starscream.
Hmm.
Uh, just as sort of an experiment of like what he would look like if he actually lived through the events of the Michael Bay Transformers movies.
Hmm.
And of course, this isn't indicative of what will happen in Rise of Unicron.
Right.
This was just a personal thing that I did as I finished Skywarp, but
Hmm.
I just kind of love how he looks. Starscream has always been my favorite character. I'm looking at my Starscream shrine on my shelf right now. I have 8 figures on there.
Damn, that's a
Uh,
lot.
yeah, my desk right now is kind of looking like the desk that's on the podcast video. But but yeah, yeah, he's always been my favorite, and so any chance I get to do a recolor of one of my seekers, it's always going to be Starscream. If not, he be the first one.
I see. And so of course, if you, for example, like if we suddenly said that okay, we wanted you to design like a Starscream, would you keep this or would you do it? You or would you like say like hold up, let me make like an actual design?
I think since Skywarp was in my mind sort of my ideal live action seeker design, I would probably keep a lot of elements of this whilst also mixing in some of the elements of Thundercracker's design, kind of making him a little more bulkier in the chest, giving him a little more to the waist as well, and
Hmm.
sort of adding a little bit more whilst also keeping it very close to Skywarp, because my idea was that Skywarp sort of was the more adapted version, whilst Thundercracker was less adaptive to Earth technology and vehicles, whereas Skywarp was very much so somebody who was eager to blend in with anything necessary, and so that would be more close to the Generation One design. And yeah, that was my sort of mentality on it.
It's really interesting that you say that because Young Special asked like if Thundercracker was more focused on like the of like if he was in his Perform mode, like in the Cybertronian mode, because especially the chest like is really similar to the protoform design for Starscream.
Yeah, yeah, that was totally exactly what I was going for there. Regardless of how it's portrayed in the film, I was definitely going more for Thundercracker was a little more reluctant to give up his Cybertronian form. So, although he did take on an Earth form, he didn't fully format his robot mode to look as such, and so he still has a lot of the protoform elements to his chest and shoulders, whilst also having the wings from the alt mode, and obviously some more bits and pieces like the thrusters on
Hmm.
his back that are hanging off of his backpack. So yeah, yeah, I'm so glad people are actually understanding my thoughts when I was designing these things.
That's really interesting. I gotta also like another thing that I gotta admire now is like the whole like personality and backstory that you build around the designs, which definitely adds and gives them a lot more character. And believe me, it's definitely it's way easier to write for like these two guys based only like if you have only the voice and the design, you can write a whole. I could write a whole film about just these two.
Yeah, yeah, I relate to that. I've been working on, and this is part of the thing I want to sort of talk about towards the end of the podcast. But for 8 years now, I've had my own film project that I've been working towards, that I have a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of concept art for, and trust me, before I started doing concept art, it was so hard to actually write the movie or the series in this case. And once I did a few bits of concept art, had the image in my mind, it was so much easier. And especially when you add personality to it. So I totally get where you're coming from there.
Yeah. Yeah, but for example, okay, let me pull up. Here we go. So this is like this is basically the design that you have the for the cone heads.
Yeah, this was around a year ago. This was actually my very first attempt at sort of taking a G1 character and sort of modernizing him, heavily inspired by the Bumblebee movies, secret designs,
Mm-hmm.
less Bayverse on this one.
Yeah.
But there are a few things I would do differently. But overall, I'm very happy with that, and a lot of elements were taken from this and put into the Thundercracker and Skywarp designs for Rise of Unicron. And overall, I'm still very pleased with this one. And I did a bunch, like I did an Optimus Prime, a Megatron, Starscream, all of the repaints basically. I even did wow, I can't remember his name. It was an Armada repaint of Starscream. Hello? Hello, is it's Malachi.
Wait, hold up. Oh, Malachi actually joined. Yes, he's here. He's alive, ladies and gentlemen. My good boy, my good friend, is here.
I
Hello,
can't believe it.
I am here. I am here. Very sorry. Um, got held up. Oh,
Understandable.
but I'm here now. What is up, Pepsi Man? Just want to say hi to you.
Hey, hey, hey. Good to be here. I,
What
I like to
is?
imagine my voice coming from the small Pepsi Man figure on the table.
I'm glad I'm
How
not
is
alone in
everyone
the room.
doing? How's everyone doing?
Really good.
Very, very good. Very good.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it. How about everyone in the chat? How's everyone doing? I didn't miss too much,
Freaking
I
out
hope.
that you're here.
Hope I didn't miss too much.
Fanfare everywhere.
Oh no, I mean you missed the teaser though for the Batman thing. But apart from that,
No, I missed something. God damn it.
no,
Shit.
you can rewatch it later though. That's the good
Oh,
thing
okay, that's true.
about this.
True, true, true. Oh, but yeah, I sorry I interrupted. You guys keep talking about what you were talking about. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no problem. Pepsi Man was discussing like the thought process around like most of his more he sent me some of his older designs.
Oh, alright.
Yeah, and I think it's because of some of these designs that I was actually reached out to help on this project.
Hmm.
And yeah, honestly, as just a side project that I was doing with these G1 redesigns, it was really cool to actually be brought on. And it was a completely new challenge to design Bayverse designs. And I'm so happy I got that experience because I feel like every concept, every design that I do, getting better. I mean, even the super secret concept that I sent you a few days ago,
Yeah.
very, 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 very proud of that one.
Yeah, it looks undoubtedly really, really good. And I also noticed a lot of details on that one. But of course, since it's confidential, we cannot talk about it.
Maybe one of these days.
Maybe one of these days, yeah, maybe after the model is made, we can show both the model and the concept art together and
Yeah.
have quite a big discussion. But yeah, coming back to there was a question there. I think I missed it. Um, but it was that also the okay, here it was. So would you say that Thundercracker's face is based on even it was a little bit like Bane's mask from The Dark Knight Rises?
I never thought of that. It very well could have been since I was thinking of Bane when I was designing him. Let me actually pull up the concept. Take a look for myself. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. See, even me not remembering what inspired my designs, but yeah, I definitely wanted sort of a mask look, especially with the I guess fangs that
Yeah,
come up
like the
from the
gold
bottom.
ones.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely covering his mouth. So that's not part of his mouth, it's just part of his jaw, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um yeah, definitely a mask sort of situation. And I kind of strayed away from the Bane aesthetic as I went on, but I'm the stuff that's left over I'm really happy with. And so yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really again like every time I see one of these designs, I just like start like smiling.
Thank you. Thank you.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
and I'm really, really excited to see them in quote unquote live action.
yeah, definitely. Okay, now I actually remembered my question, which was you said that you had made like 8 different Skywarp versions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like what
Yeah.
how because obviously you ended up with this like like the final look in which we already described like what vibe it gave and what was inspired by. But were the other designs like drastically different from the final one?
Not too drastically except for one of them. One of them I was kind of experimenting with how do I describe this? Uh, I guess sort of a samurai look to him that in concept I thought was pretty good. It didn't quite work out. I think I still have the concept somewhere. So eventually I can send it to you and then we could probably show it at a later time. But yeah, I think as I tried to do more and more crazy things, it kind of strayed away from the point of the redesigns. And so eventually I kind of landed on this and I think I saved all my scrapped ones because usually I go back like the Thundercracker was inspired by a scrapped Jetfire or Skyfire design that I was doing for my personal project,
Hmm.
and only sort of inspired, but the the chest was sort of the the base work for what this initially was meant to be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes. This. I mean, honestly, I would love to see like the more samurai like inspired look, because that sounds. I mean, first of all, samurais are cool. Let's
Oh
just
yeah,
get that out of the way. Um, and Transformers are also cool. So definitely like, because I imagined it was. I mean, I don't know how much samurai it had, but I imagine like instantly when you say like samurai and connect it to something else, I imagine like these figures that they started producing for like, for example, Star Wars.
right.
And
Yeah, very similar to that.
yeah, so I'm really intrigued to see those, but before we do that, let me hold on. I'm gonna search for um the image that you sent me of the three seekers that you
All right.
designed. In the meanwhile, SG asks, what got you into Transformers initially?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Sit down for this one. So, as a wee lad growing up, um, I wasn't really into cartoons at all for anything. And then one day, my dad he had some of the season one of Transformers Generation One on a DVD, I think. And as I was watching it, I kind of just fell in love with the concept of it. Back in the day, if you showed me robots, anything, I would be instantly in love with the concept.
Mm-hmm.
But after kind of watching season one and a bit of season two, maybe at like 6 or 7 years old, I kind of came back to it. And at that point, there were more and more things going on in the fandom. I don't remember exactly when I started watching Transformers Prime, but that was sort of my introduction to the greater world of Transformers. And then I eventually came back to G1. And it was kind of upsetting that there wasn't really a show going on after Prime
Mm-hmm.
ended. And at that point I wasn't a fan of the movies because I had purely just grown up on Generation 1 and wasn't a huge fan of the way the movies were directed.
Right.
And eventually I kind of learned to appreciate the differences and the nuance in all of them. And so at this point I'm not a G1 fan or an Armada fan. I'm just a Transformers fan at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so it was sort of this thing where, show after show I kind of didn't finish any of them. And then what really got me into Transformers was one day I was just browsing Netflix and I didn't know what it was, but I just saw this thing and it read Beast Wars.
Oh.
And I
Oh,
clicked it
Mm.
and I was like, this animation is awful. And I turned it off. And then the next day I went back and found myself binging season one and two and rewatching a few episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was instantly hooked. I mean, I'm so glad my initial thought of the animation being bad didn't actually deter me from watching the whole show. Because once I was done with it, I'm like, I love this animation style so much.
Yeah.
It's so charming.
Yeah. Beast
And the
Wars is
characters just
amazing.
mm, fantastic. So I will say, if it wasn't for Beast Wars, I wouldn't be into Transformers as much as I am. And looking around my room, I have, I think, 87 War for Cybertron toys in
Damn.
their boxes. Not in their boxes, but their boxes are lined on my shelves. And,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it would be better off financially for me if I wasn't a Transformers fan, but it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's
I
fine.
mean, we all end up spending our money in plastic anyways. So at the end
Yeah,
of the day, it's just like which branded plastic we choose to spend it on.
exactly. I mean, I just bought the War for Cybertron Omega Supreme last week and it arrived today. So, you know, life's good as a Transformers fan. I still play with my toys. It's how I get my creative energy for designing my concepts.
That's awesome. But yeah, yeah. Like speaking of Beast Wars, I remember also that I watched it a small when I was really a kid. I had like two DVDs. It was like the first 5 episodes or something like that of Beast Wars, and the whole G1 show, and I loved
Nice.
it. I loved it, and I remember that when I went to rewatch Beast Wars, since the new Rise of the Beast films and the War for Cybertron Kingdom, so I was like, you know what, I'll watch Beast Wars. I don't remember much about it, and I remember that when I finished the first season, I was like, the story's amazing, and the animation style is awful, but I love
Yeah,
it.
it's so charming.
Yes, it's so 90s. I love it.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, not any other way. But yeah. Okay, so here we go. So these are the three seekers you designed. Of course, the three main ones. Very much inspired by the Bumblebee movie. I can see that.
Oh yeah, yeah, shamelessly. So
Yeah. But they do. You add like a certain charm to them. I'd say it's more. I guess I don't know if it's mechanical detail is the right word, but they definitely have like a
I
certain quality to them.
yeah, I sort of tried to make these look like robots that on paper look like they barely function. Like there's weld seams everywhere, there's rivets everywhere, and they look kind of exposed. Like if you shot a bullet into its exposed arm, it would just combust.
Hmm.
But my main idea was, okay, these are very skinny robots with car and plain armor put over them instead of it becoming part of them. And so, opposed for the head, everything you see on them that's basically colored is just armor, basically. And that was sort of my main take. Eventually, like with like the Megatron and the Optimus Prime, I don't know if I sent you those, but it was more so just detailed versions of the G1 characters and call it a day.
Hmm.
But especially the Seekers, they're my favorite designs just because they're sort of like I try to make them look like mindless drones as well, whilst
Hmm.
also being pretty terrifying. Like I think this is my most terrifying Seeker design for the head at the very least.
Oh, really?
Uh yeah, just cuz like if you zoom in, like the small teeth that are barely barely present, and then just the black voids with the red dots for eyes. I think I think this is my scariest design.
Yeah. I mean, I now that you mention it, I can see that it looks like they were like actual like animatronic robots kind of a way. Like the whole exposed
Yeah,
wire thing. They look like very they look like fragile, but yet they would work on a defined like environment or something like that.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely I can see that with the head design, like the whole little teeth thing. Really, really good.
Thank you, thank you. And yeah, if it wasn't for this concept, I wouldn't have gotten into redesigning or updating Transformers designs, and I'm glad I got into it because I wouldn't be here sitting here talking to you today if it wasn't for it.
For sure. Yeah. Hold on, let me adjust this a
And
little
I even threw in a few Easter eggs on the designs for like the words. I got like for the War for Cybertron Siege toy line, there was a Phantom Strike box set, and so I put the Phantom Strike logos and text on Skywarp's intakes, I guess they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
like
I can also see that now. Like for example, like the intakes on Thundercracker, say like F-35 and then Thundercracker.
yeah, and then
That's a really good attention to detail.
Yeah.
thank you, like F-15 command for Starscream.
Hmm.
You know, they're little things that are inconsequential in the end of the day, but
Right.
they're fun. They're fun.
Right. So what you said before, like for example, this beast now again looks amazing, but I immediately notice that it's quite inspired not only by the Megatron. It's not just inspired by the G1 design, but also like the G1 toy.
Yeah, yeah. I've always loved the details on his chest from the G1 toy. And so when I was designing him, I just wanted to give him something that would make him pop. And something about it looks like almost regal, sort of like he demands your praise or worship,
Mm-hmm.
basically. But I also wanted to make him look intimidating in the face and give him just the classic things that I think are missing from modern day Megatron designs. Like,
Right.
I can't believe it took us how many films to get a fusion cannon on his arm, and it wasn't even the proper size in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to portray a lot of things. Like this guy, in the end of the day, if I had it my way, Megatron would always turn into a Walter P-38. Um,
Yeah,
but
with
this
the
guy could
fences
very much
also.
so be, yeah, he could be whatever alt mode you want. I didn't want to put any actual alt mode details onto him,
Mm-hmm.
just so it's sort of up to your imagination what he can turn into.
Right.
And yeah, very much so toy inspired as well.
Yeah, another detail, like not just the G1 toy, but for example, more like the legs again, like the amazing like claws, hands, like the waist piece l- skirt thing that Megatron has. In this particular design that you make, it resembles the panel lined mess of the masterpiece Megatron.
Yes, yes. This on the day I made this, one of my collector friends, he came over and he was kind of like we were doing a swap. We were trading a few things,
Hmm.
and I got to see his masterpiece Megatron, and I didn't, for some reason, I would rather have it a panely mess than have it completely smooth, because I don't know, something about just the concept artist in me. I just love detail that shouldn't really be there.
Hmm.
And so it was totally an inspiration, not only just for this, but for like everything on the figure or the concept. Just make it panely, make it look complex to transform,
Yeah,
and you know, that was a big inspiration.
yeah, the extra layer of like, yeah, that definitely something that I can like appreciate. That's all, and also something that I wanted for like the movies to try to do. Like for example, have maybe like for the, because if you see for example like the Siege, like the War for Cybertron trilogy, if you look, there's certainly aspects of the toy, but they're like a copy paste of what the toy has. While
Yeah,
I'd rather it like they somehow turn it, like for example Optimus Prime's like weird forearm thing. That's I would rather have it so they make it so it resembles what he has on the toy, but it's not like an exact copy.
yeah, like have a curved bit that hangs off of his back, but don't have it as bulky as the toy, because
Yeah,
it
exactly.
was it was clearly a design limit with the toy, and I don't think it should have been translated in the animation. It was cool though to see a one-to-one representation of your toys, but when it got to stuff like Earthrise and Kingdom, it was like, well, what was the point if you're not gonna adapt these other ones? And I
Hmm.
get why they couldn't adapt them, but I don't know. I don't know. I would rather be inspired. But
Right. Yeah.
in rare occurrences like Armada, when Unicron showed up at the end, spoiler alert by the way if you haven't seen Armada, uh it was really cool to see that Unicron toy be exactly like it was in the cartoon, even the back kibble that's hanging off of his back, like being the same. But I think it just got a little too much with Siege because it was such a stylistic show, and to just have clearly kibbly characters running
Yeah.
around. I liked it at first, and I got a little old, especially with like Elita 1, where it's like, okay, you clearly are designed by a completely different team.
Yeah. You're
And
yeah. Elita One is such an example of the the like model being designed before the toy. Bumblebee also.
yeah, like I even got they released an exclusive to Target, Cybertronian B alt mode, and I think it's trying to emulate the War for Cybertron show, but even that doesn't do it completely. So it's like you can never have your perfect War for Cybertron collection if you
Hmm.
want them to be one to one, even though half of them are. It's like the ones that aren't, little annoying, little annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see what you mean. I can see what you mean.
But yeah, I mean, probably my least favorite design redesign was Optimus Prime that I did, just because I think it looks too much like the G1 design.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if I have it saved. Let me see. Oh, I don't. Well, that's a shame. Um, if I could find it, I'll send it to you. But yeah, I think it just tried too hard to make it look G1-ish. That's why I kind of like these newer ones that I'm doing, where it's like I get to emulate both,
Right.
and I'm a lot more happier with that.
Yeah, and how old is this Megatron design?
This is, I think, a year and a half to 2 years old. Um, yeah, yeah, around that point.
Damn. Yeah, because I could definitely see like one thing that I like a lot about your designs, and a lot of people also like, I think other people noticed, is the fact that, for example, they look very monster and zombie like.
Yeah, yeah, monsters that could just destroy stuff if they wanted to.
Yes.
And especially with the Decepticons, that was my main goal, to just make them intimidating.
You definitely achieve that. I mean, for example, because I notice these like aesthetics that certain things adopt. Like for example, the Night Bears. Like it's very focused on making the characters look G1 but detailed. The Bayverse was very focused on making, for example, on making the Autobots look like cars that are suddenly robots, and the Decepticons like actual aliens.
Yeah, which I think
And
it. Sorry, sorry. Go on.
no, no, go ahead.
My only real gripe with the Michael Bay movies designs is that, as much as I like the way the more alien Decepticons look, I kind of wish they got. I know this is a common complaint, but I wish they kind of got more color and personality. And
Hmm.
so I kind of love what the Nightverse is doing, but that's just because I'm a big G1 fan. But I wish they kind of toned it down just a little bit. I'm hoping with Rise of the Beasts, they kind of merge both the Nightverse and Bayverse designs in a way that's natural. Because I loved the way the Decepticons looked, even if I couldn't really tell who was who. I still loved their designs. I mean, Dorito Starscream is one of my favorite designs, and I didn't even know that was Starscream for the longest time. And so I think if they just add some color, I think that would probably, you know, calm some of the complaints that are going around. But
Yeah.
that's just my hot take, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why, I mean, a reason why I love the Bayverse designs so much is that they, for example, the only thing that I don't like, for example, with the Decepticons, is that they're really monochromatic, you know? If you had a lot
Right.
of Decepticons, like, in line, it would be like gray after gray after gray, after gunmetal.
Yeah.
And that's what I just love about the Autobots, is that they embraced like the whole gamma of colors that they had in G1 and applied it to them, you know?
Yeah. Like
They
my
didn't.
big only complaint was that Ironhide wasn't red, but I loved his design.
I mean,
And
yeah,
it
but
worked.
it still wasn't like, for example, if you look at Megatron, it's like a really scratched, like it's a really scratched like gray or aluminum color. But for example, Ironhide's, like, since Ironhide's finish is like glossy, it pops.
Right, yeah. Especially when the light hits him. I mean, I will always give that movie credit that its effects are amazing. It totally made me believe that these cars can transform into robots because it
Yeah.
looks so convincing.
Yeah, I mean, and even and considering the first one came out in 2007, I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Wow.
impressive. It's definitely
And
impressive.
I think it looks visually better than like The Last Night or Age of Extinction. It's like it's impressive what that team did, especially
Mhm.
back in the day.
Mhm.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
am excited for Rise of the Beasts though. I'm hoping the direction of Transformers is positive from now on. I hope it can not that the fan base needs a lot of healing, I suppose is the right term, but
right.
I think it could work to unite the fan base.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for example, if you've seen Harlow, who is one of our 3D modelers on our team, he's been making like blends, like some. I think he made like an Optimus Prime design blend that looks sick, and like I now I'm a really big fan of the idea of like merging the beavers and U1 designs to get something that's unique, but that's also like true to the fan base.
Yeah, and I think it could definitely go like my only real big overall complaint was that I couldn't really tell who the characters were. And
Hmm.
so I think if you take the genius designs that were in the Michael Bay movies and just add a bit of that G1 pop to it, you can get an almost perfect representation of your characters because they'll be different, they'll be unique, but they won't be copies
Oh
of
yeah,
the original,
yeah,
and they'll stand on their own.
and I gotta admit that I like appreciate that because again, like my only complaint with the Decepticons is that they're really monochromatic. But for example, that's something that I can appreciate, and what I love so much about is Devastator.
All right, yeah.
You know, like the Bayverse Devastator has each individual Constructicon. Like I actually, even though some people might crucify me for this, I prefer Bayverse Devastator over, you know, like the original G1 designs because it makes them look unique.
I'm holding my Combiner Wars Devastator in fear right now. No, I completely get what you're talking about. It's e- even if I wasn't like a huge fan of the way Devastator is portrayed, he was never my favorite character to begin with. So it was really cool to see like actually see where each component goes because they're all colored differently. And
Yeah.
so to see the way it morphs around the main body, it was like it was really cool. And I'm right there with you. I love the Bayver's Devastator, even if it's sort of a goofy, sort of ironic love. I still do think there's genius in that design. And that face is always gonna amaze me the way it looks.
Yeah. And also, again, considering the film came out in 2009, like Devastator had like a million different moving pieces like the model and the animation and like the amount of work that went into the few minutes that Devastator was in, I that's just amazes me.
Blows my mind. And
Yeah.
like even related to the topic, as much as which I assume I'm in the minority here, I loved the War for Cybertron trilogy, but my main complaint was that I don't I don't think those designs are memorable because they're just emulating something that I already love. And
Right.
I think what it needed was what the War for Cybertron games did. I think that was a really cool idea because it was more leaning towards G1,
Yeah.
but it was different, and those are memorable designs.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
So I like
sadly
what we're doing here.
something that the trilogy didn't have. That it was. I think if since Hasbro knows like how much people love G1, they need to focus on like not copy pasting everywhere, but rather like homaging like the base. Like for example, if you look at like all the different Marvel interpretations of different characters, there's like a base form that is established, which in some cases, you know, was either established by comics or by the MCU, and then they take that, change a little bit of stuff around, and then they use that for the series in particular. And
Yeah, what Marvel's doing is really cool, and I wish more companies did that.
yeah, and I think that Transformers need to focus on that, on like grabbing the G1 look, you know, mixing a little bit, maybe adding a different body type, different shape, keeping colors, you know, keeping the base shape of the face, stuff like that, and then they use that because that's like what you know, that's what gets a show going. That it has its own identity.
Yeah, and then even my film project or my series project that we'll talk about here in a sec. Um, it is based off of a previously existing IP, and my
Mm,
main goal was to make it as different as possible whilst also being recognizable as those characters. And it's the most fun thing you can have as a project. So I wish more companies were willing to do that because I think it pays off in the end a lot better than just sort of adapting one to one.
right.
But yeah,
But moving on to another design. So how old is, for example, this one? This Blitzwing. How, like, first of all, again,
ooh,
amazing work. But how old is it?
that was right before Megatron.
Right before Megatron.
Um, Probably a month before Megatron. Wow, I haven't seen this one in a while. Yeah, yeah. This brings me back. Yeah, that one's probably a year and a half or 2 years ago. Um, wow, there's so much I would change about this one. Yeah. This one was just kind of a mess, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I don't know. I see some charm with it.
Yeah, but for
But
example, a lot of this design is very monster-like. Like, for example,
oh yeah,
the face, like how it merges with the body, and especially that you added the sword as like a like coming out of his arm instead of being like a normal sword, with a hilt.
yeah, yeah. That was something because I mean, just that alone was inspired by the Bumblebee movie. Whereas I as much as I love the design itself, I hated the fact that that was Blitzwing.
Yeah.
And so this was sort of what I wanted from that. And so maybe that's why this is a little against my own personal design philosophy, but I did kind of love the idea of the weapons coming out of his hand. And so I could just imagine a scene where like his hand just splits and it becomes like the base for that sword as it's morphs out of his arm.
Right.
But yeah, and I wanted to keep the classic gun because as much as I do like automorphing weapons, I think Transformers are cooler when they have physical weapons they hold on to.
Mhm. Mhm. But yeah, I mean, it looks really monster-like. And like now that I think about it, like if because I there was of course the theory that Blisswing would be like merged with um Shatter and Dropkick, and like that's how he gets like the triple changing ability, and the whole and like triple personality also and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. My original idea was to do multiple faces, but I kind of moved on quickly. But I do love the multiple personality
Mm-hmm.
Blitzwing. I think that should be used a lot more.
Yeah. Okay, so Young Special asks, if you have made, like some designs that have had like the Cybertronian glyphs or tattoos that, for example, Starscream had in Bridge of the Fallen.
Good question. This is part of the confidential um concepts that I'm working on. One of them does have some.
One of them does
And
have some.
yes, it's a rework of a design. I got some feedback and I'm redoing it. Um there will be a lot of Cybertronian glyphs and tattoos on an area of the character.
Oh.
I won't reveal who the character is
Mm-hmm.
or anything of it right now, but stay tuned because you will see some of that. And I was studying sort of the Cybertronian language and obviously not trying to learn it or anything, but
Yeah.
kind of how the words work. And so I hope it'll be accurate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for example, okay, so here I have the good old like okay, so this thing, I instantly fell in love with it. First of all, let me just get that right out of the way. It will be very obvious why. And I love it, and I mean, I saw it and I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you. This is one of my favorite little personal projects. I
Yeah, it looks really good.
I have
That was looking
the
good.
original '86 movie poster on hanging up on my wall, and
Mhm.
so it's always in the back of my mind. And even though I would rather have the Nightverse designs sort of differentiate, I'm still not going to complain that I have basically a perfect G1 representation on screen. And so I kind of took that to my advantage and tried to recreate the poster.
Right.
Um, I do have to shout out though, SW underscore illustration underscore on Instagram. I based the Grimlock and the Jazz and the Blaster and a bit of the Megatron designs off of his Nightverse concepts that he
Okay.
did. And yeah, just full transparency. I didn't design those ones. But yeah, it was a lot of fun just kind of merging the two. I'm not good with backgrounds, and so Cybertron might be a little out of place, but I might do some tweaking later. But yeah, this was a fun one to do.
Yeah, I mean, my inner fanboy. He's happy.
Glad to hear
Okay,
that.
so Leos gonna ask, what's your favorite Shockwave design and why?
Ooh, I have to look this up. This might be a bit obscure. Um, oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Um, Give me a moment. It's imperative that I find this one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, ah, well, that's a shame. I guess I'll just stick with mainline or main representations of him. Um, as much as I do love the Nightverse Shockwave, I think the Bayverse Shockwave is my favorite Bayverse design. Just because
Okay.
it gets the character right, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a few things I would change, obviously, but
Right.
I think he just looks awesome. And at the end of the day, as much as I would like nuanced characters and that be reflected in the designs, I just kind of liked how he commanded your attention when he walked on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, something about that's really appealing. It's the only Studio Series Bayverse figure I've actually bought just because of how much I love the design.
Huh.
And and yeah, something about it. And it gets the color right as well, which is rare.
Yeah, that's rare among among Decepticons.
Yeah, it's rare to have color on Decepticons, but it was really refreshing to see him.
Yep. Okay, so as he asks, what characters would you like to tackle in the future?
What characters would I like to tackle in the future? Definitely a Starscream. He's my favorite character, basically of all time, and so definitely like to see what I could do with him. Um, Another character I would love to do a Dinobot, a Cybertronian Dinobot pre beast mode. I already kind of did one where he turned into a motorcycle,
Okay.
and the front of the motorcycle formed his chest, and the motorcycle was painted like a dinosaur
Mm-hmm.
head. And so it was basically me forcing the homage, but I had a lot of fun with that one. Um, and I would love to do Unicron someday. I have so many cool designs in my head for what I could do for a Unicron,
Right.
and it would just take me forever to do though.
Well, I mean, I don't. I'm not so. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. Um, but I guess I'd have to ask. But if Unicron hasn't been designed, then
I would love to take the task, you know. You'd have to give me a month though.
yeah, I actually was thinking about that. The deadline would have to be like 5 months.
Yeah, yeah. The coloring process would take even longer.
Yeah. yeah. Um, and for example, this is a very interesting question that I want to give you. Considering the robot that you know that are going to be in Rise of Unicron, which even the ones who are already been designed, you know, and of course not the ones that people don't know about, but if you could design any of them, who would it be?
Could you give me a quick rundown of some of the characters that are publicly known?
Okay, so of course there's the basic ones, you know, like Megatron, Optimus, Bumblebee, has a confirmed design.
Okay.
Um, there's some characters that I cannot. Oh my god, it pains me so much the characters that I cannot mention because they're really cool. There's even some like Easter egg characters that are appearing in the movie. But for example, Blunt, um, Blackout, Barricade, uh, Berserker. Who else? Um, well, Shockwave, but and Starscream, and you know some of them, but mostly in like flashbacks.
Right. Okay.
Um, who
Hmm.
else? No, they don't know. They can't know about that one. They can't know about that one. They can't know about that one. They can't know. You know what pains me so much about the characters that people can't know? Because I've been like on the other side of the thing where, you know, there's rumors, for example, I don't know, the rumors that appeared for like WandaVision or Loki or any of those shows. You know, I've had to be on the, you know, on the other side, like, oh, what character is gonna appear next, and I guess that's part of like the review, but it also pains me that I cannot share because you know, you just know that the characters that people don't know, some of them are gonna be cooler than the ones they do know, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get that pain with my project. There's
Mhm.
so many interesting ideas that I can't tell anybody. So I have a guy who I basically just tell him everything to get feedback. And at this point, he's in the chat right now, but he will not be he will not be surprised for anything when the final product comes out because he basically is on the same page as I am.
Right.
But it's really hard not to show everybody everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I think I would want to take a jab at Megatron. Um, he's kind of the one that I've been. It's the one that I have no ideas how I would design him for, and that's why I kind of want to tackle him. Just
Mhm.
because if we're doing Rise of Unicron, I would love to merge the Generation One Galvatron design with the Last Night Megatron in
Oh, that
just
would be
some
an
way.
interesting. Yeah, that would be an
Just
interesting
some way.
mix.
Yeah, and that's the extent of my thought for that.
Mhm.
But but yeah, I you all can have full confidence that I'm not spoiling anything because I know nothing about the story. I just do the concept art.
He's true. I mean, that's true. He doesn't know anything about the story.
Not a
Um.
single not a single thing that's not public knowledge. And even then I'm not fully caught up.
Okay, that's an interesting question. How did you learn or hear about the Rise of Unicron project at first?
I was actually so I think on oh, what's the website called? Um
ArtStation?
no, TFW 2005. I
Okay.
think somebody posted something a while ago and I just looked at it and it sat in the back of my mind and then as I was posting on my Instagram account, I posted I think my RC redesign um which while I'm talking I can just send it to you if you want to pull it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um as I was sort of posting a few things, I got a, a message on Instagram and kind of asking if I'd be interested in doing some concept art for a project. I thought it was a complete scam at first, and then I was brought onto the server and met up with a few people. I'm like, oh, this is that project. I'm like, yes, I would love to design for this. And so if I hadn't saw it on the boards a couple months ago or a year ago, I don't know how long ago it was. I probably wouldn't have been so excited, but the fact that I knew about it before, it was really cool to be brought onto it because I'm like, I've been following this.
I can definitely see what you mean. But yeah, now that I actually remembered a question that was like deeper in the chat, I can't find it now. Sadly, I like lost it. But what do you use to draw like software and hardware wise?
It's pretty simple. On my iPad Pro, it's just a free app called Procreate. It might be $10. I don't know. But
Okay.
yeah, it's called Procreate, and it's basically just the essential sort of starter artist kit. You can do crazy things with it, but for me, I just basically do line work for my
Mhm.
concepts, and so
Mhm.
it's super simple. There's nothing really complex about it, and it gets the job done. And it's really nice. It's really really nice. I am running out of storage though on there because I think I reached 1,000 concepts for the 4 projects that I'm working on, including this.
Mhm.
And so I'm gonna have to purge some of those, but yeah, it's fun.
I see. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, this RC redesign is the one that got you into the project.
Yes, that's the one.
Nice.
Merging G1, Nightverse, and Transformers Prime all in one. Um, to be honest, this was the one that I finished the quickest. But yeah, I'm happy with the way the shapes just kind of turned out. I don't know. I don't know. It makes me happy whenever I look at this concept art.
Yeah, that I mean, there I can definitely see the prime. I can see the whole like gamma of design that you applied to it.
Yeah, yeah.
This is an interesting question that SG has asked. Have you ever made a design that you regret doing?
Ooh, that's a question I've never been asked before. Um, yes, multiple, but none of them for the Transformers stuff. Um, let me see if I can find like a good segue into not a segue, just let me see here. Hmm. I'm gonna hold on to that thought in the back of my mind, and I'll answer it towards the end because that's a really good one.
Okay.
But oh, I just found this concept art that I not concept this drawing that I did months ago.
Oh, oh my. Okay.
It's related to my character completely.
I mean, it's really cursed, but I mean that's the kind of stuff that we do on the show. So I mean, we'll take it.
Oh no, I'm scared to look.
Oh, you will look, um, Malachi. Oh look. Oh God. So if people were wondering, people are probably wondering. So I'll try to pull it up as quick as I can. Um. Okay. So. Uh, right. So the cursed concept, everyone that Pepsi Man was talking about. It's oh boy, it's really something.
I'm sorry in advance, everybody.
Okay, so it's this. It's this. It's that. I mean, I can't
I
take the fact away
apologize.
from it that it's cursed, but again, that's the kind of stuff that we do here. So I mean, it's welcome.
Imagine I was actually inspired by I think it was like the Coca-Cola or Pepsi Optimus Prime toy that was released years ago. And I was like, what if I just made a Pepsi version of that, but it's Wheeljack?
Oh God.
It's
There's actual
great.
there's actual canonical lore that went into the inspiration for that cursed image.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, just cola branded Transformers toys throughout the years. Just I just love how deep of a rabbit hole it can be.
Oh I need like a
I
freaking masterpiece Pepsi wheeljack.
I mean, I have two Earthrise wheeljacks. Could probably do a custom.
Oh god.
Oh no.
No, please no.
That's gonna be so cursed. Like it's gonna be cursed, but like I kind of want it at the same time, honestly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. There, no, there is a Coke branded Transformer. Let me see. Let me see.
While you search for that, this is an actually like an interesting question that has made. You can be totally honest, okay? Which is like, what are your thoughts in general on like the Rise of Unicron project? Like, what do you think of the fact that fans are trying to give like a movie franchise an ending?
As somebody who for years didn't like the Michael Bay movies, I think it's really beautiful that fans are taking it into their own hands to finish a story that even I didn't really care about to begin with, but it's really awesome to see fans take the initiative, and just being on this project has really changed my perspective on some of the areas of the fandom where it's like we're not any different. We're all Transformers fans at the end of the day. And
Mm,
so it's really awesome to see just a bunch of fans who have such a deep passion for Transformers, no matter what area of the fandom it could be, that they're willing to spend time, do this all for free, and get no compensation at the end of the day, and just work at it and get to finish a story that was, even though I love the Nightverse that started, I think it's so unfair that the Michael Bay movies didn't get finished. And so it's really awesome to see people take it into their hands.
hmm.
And hey, I'm really proud of the Transformers community.
Yay to us! Yay to us!
Yay,
Yay.
yay, yay.
Okay, so Young Special made a weird question. If it is, have you ever made a like a small concept of like a Transformers optic?
Yes, I have. I don't have it with me, but I was experimenting with so for some of my concepts, I make larger, more detailed pieces before I shrink them down and add them to the body of the concept.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. And I was doing one for an optic, and it looked really good. Then I shrunk it down, and it was so small that it was basically just 4 pixels, and it was so infuriating because it was the most detailed optic I've ever drawn, and it was gone. I undid it and I saved the image anyways, but yeah, yeah, that was it was a traumatic moment in my concept artist career. Not
I
even
see.
career.
You were scarred.
I was scarred. I was scarred. I'll never do that again. Learned my lesson.
Yeah. By the way, Malachi, we got plastic surgery. I don't know if you saw that on the podcast room.
Oh, you mean our yeah, I saw that.
I
Are
was the
we
plastic surgeon.
are we floating, by the way? I'm just
I
are we,
mean,
are
we
we
have
floating?
thrusters. We can get away with it.
Oh yeah, true. Okay.
I'll add some thruster I'll add some thruster detail
Oh, were you the one who
after
made
the
it
show.
for us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you did a really good job.
Thank you. Yeah, it was funny. I came home in a rush to send this concept over, and for some reason the layer that had all the color was missing completely.
Oh.
And I know I had completed it like a week ago. And so I was freaking out. So like as I was getting ready, setting up my mic, I was coloring in the characters.
Wait, so wait, so you had just the sketch?
No, I had the line work and everything, but the colors were gone. So
Also,
yeah.
it
Yeah.
was like a rapid like grab the purple, pop everything that's purple,
Yeah.
and kind of
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Quickest color job I've ever done, but I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it did turn out pretty good. I thought
I
it was seamless.
Thanks. I literally had the G1 reference sheets, and I was just grabbing the exact colors from those and just dropping them on.
Yeah, that was something that I was gonna say. The colors are really accurate.
Thank you. Yeah, they're as accurate as it can be.
Um. Someone asked, "What would you say has been the most ambitious Transformers design you have made?"
Most ambitious Transformers design I've ever made. Oh man, this is a character I can't talk about. I think you know who it is. Um,
I mean, there's two of them that you can't talk about.
it's not the recent one that I sent you.
Okay.
Yeah, originally I had a design for a character that I hate how I can't go into detail because there's no way I can describe this character without giving it away.
You can
But
say the color,
I
I guess,
needed
because there's a lot of characters that have the same color.
right. Um, purple is a very present color in an area for this character, but I I needed to redo the colors and proportions for this character. And as I was redoing the proportions, I started adding more stuff to it, and soon I just deleted almost everything I did before and started from scratch. And it's one of my favorite concepts thus far.
Hmm.
And I'm so excited to get it to a point where I can show you two. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, it was a really ambitious one. Really ambitious.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Um. Oh, SG asks if you have ever made like like an OC.
Y- if you can count Pepsi Wheeljack, then yes, that's an OC. But
I I guess it counts.
It does kind of count. So
yeah, um, this relates to a separate project I'm doing. I'm trying to host between like a small group of friends for like a test run, but I'm trying to do a Transformers RPG, tabletop RPG, and I'm trying to
Oh.
like write it and make my own mechanics for it and everything.
Hmm.
And I did create an original character for it because it's not going to focus on any main characters. They're all going to be original.
Right.
Um, I only have the rough sketch somewhere in my notebook, but yeah, I'm interested because a side tangent as well. Transformers is the perfect franchise to make an original character out of because you can do whatever you want and it literally has barely any consequences to
Yeah.
how the original story will go because we're only focused on a small section of characters throughout most of these shows and stories.
Hmm.
And so and I did make one. This was way before Gigawatt was ever introduced, but I did make a Decepticon. It was called Time Jumper and he was based on a DeLorean and basically he was in my lore for this comic that I was writing with a friend. He was like Shockwave's like scientific rival
Oh.
and he invents time travel and then gets stuck in time in various different places. And we were gonna do it, and then it was a really ambitious comic, so we canceled it. But Time Jumper will always be my favorite. I don't call my Gigawatt figure Gigawatt. I just call him Time Jumper. But yeah, yeah, OCs are pretty fun for
But I mean,
Transformers.
I mean, if you think about it, that's pretty awesome because imagine like you made a concept, for a character, and then you were like, no, you know what, we gotta scrap this, and then you suddenly see, like Hasbro posting that the character that you basically created in your mind, is coming as a figure.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty interesting. Although mine was a triple changer, and it could change from the DeLorean time machine to the train time machine from
Oh,
Back to the Future
from the
3.
third one.
Yeah, and he had like a seeker head, but it was a car alt mode body. It was interesting. If I can find my old concepts for it, I'll send them to you. But yeah, that was probably my favorite OC.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so technical question: have you ever made a concept design for an arm, leg, body, where it showed like the technical features of it for like CG modelers?
Not yet, but it's definitely planned because especially with the way the mouths move, I want to kind of emulate or like kind of like make it really clear how I imagine they'll move,
Mm-hmm.
just so there's nothing lost in translation.
Oh, okay.
Especially with Thundercracker.
Okay. Yeah, Thundercracker is an interesting one to clear up. Question for everyone: if you could own, okay, this one includes us, Malachi.
Oh, alright.
If we could own any of the vehicles from the Transformers movies, which one would it be?
The Axelon.
Oh.
Do vehicles for this movie count? Because I proposed a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they would count technically because
I get, nah, but I'm gonna try and do it more clean.
uh,
Mm, the 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 Bugatti probably drifts Bugatti Veyron. If it were like,
Oh, from the movies. Oh, okay. Hmm. That's a good question. Gotta think about that.
yeah, I would say
it's weird.
either drifts Bugatti, Jazz's Punch, or which one was the third one called? Oh, or Dino's Ferrari.
Oh, those are some good choices.
Since Optimus Prime is like my childhood hero, I'd go with the Bumblebee movie, Optimus Cab. It's just a amazing vehicle to look at.
Yeah,
I was probably gonna say either Optimus Prime is Peterbilt from the first three movies, or
he's
like
awesome.
or like I was gonna say either that or like Lockdown's Lamborghini, but like I kind of want to go with the Peterbilt. Honestly, it's a big truck, but like I just love the truck. It just you know.
Yeah, I was more focused on like the technical aspect of the car, I guess. That's why I said kind of like I I thought more for it for like if it was an actual car, for driving, not just like Optimus Prime is
Oh,
on my garage or something like
fine,
that.
fine, Martini, fine. Then.
Because if it was
Uh,
that, like I would definitely have, yeah, Optimus. Although I honestly would go with the Western Star though.
mm, uh, I think I might. I think I'll probably just for like maybe technical aspect. Like I guess I'll probably go for like Dino's Ferrari. I guess
It's a really good car, really good car.
it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that'll be my pick. I think. But if we do, but then if we do like just vehicles from the movies in general, just all yeah, I go with the Peterbilt because I just love that truck.
Hmm.
Hulk Miner, to answer your question, it's a toss up between Wheeljack and Hot Rod from my favorite Autobots.
This is also an interesting question. Have you ever created a Decepticon soldier protoform? For example, Decepticon soldiers like how they appeared in Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon.
I have not. Um, that would be interesting to make sort of like generic soldier types, so like the Viacons from Prime. Um, I've stuck to basically just interpretations of original, well, already created characters, but I might have to look into that.
Stupid question, but who's your favorite Autobot? I imagine it was just for you, but I mean, I gotta answer that one as well. Like, there's so many cool Autobots to choose from, but I mean, I gotta go with Jazz.
Oh, Jazz is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's my boy. I gotta go with Jazz.
Wait, what was the question?
Which one was our favorite Autobot? Or like,
Oh,
what? I think it was just Pepsi Man, but we can answer it as well.
all right.
I don't hold
Well,
exclusive rights to the answering.
Hmm.
I don't know. People are probably gonna say I'm basic for this, but I'd probably have to say just Optimus Prime, just because he's so he's a role
I mean,
model and
he's
stuff.
pretty
And just
iconic, so it's good enough.
yeah. Because I
He
think as a
inspires.
Because I grew up with the Bay films, and I think since I was a kid, my favorite Autobot was Bumblebee,
Hmm.
just because he's like, well, I think a lot of kids' favorite, character is Bumblebee. But then I think it was like after the last night. I guess I was just me because I was growing up and stuff, and I was, getting older. And then like it went from Bumblebee is like I still like Bumblebee, but like now like my favorite character is Optimus now, just because like I said he's inspirational and like
Right. Yeah, no, I gotta go with
Yeah.
Jazz. It broke my soul. I literally went to see because I was too young to see it on the cinema.
Mhm.
But my dad like bought it on a DVD or something, and I saw Transformers 1, and I had been a fan of G1 forever, and
Oh, oh, I see where this is going.
and it broke my young little like 5-year-old soul that Jazz was freaking ripped in half, man.
It broke your soul, kind of like how Megatron broke his waist.
Oh, too soon. Too soon, dude.
Oh my god.
I'll have 2 pieces.
Did you see David's reaction to that, Martini?
Yeah,
Um
I saw it. I saw it.
yeah, he's like, yeah, I like that. I like his death.
Oh, but
I'm like, oh shit, damn.
my soul, dude. If there's one character that I want to see in Nightmares, it's Jazz. I want to see Jazz again. I want to see him in the big picture.
I'm
Because I
so
loved
mad
him
they
so much.
Yeah, I'm so mad they gave Mirage Jazz's alt form in Rise of the Beasts. Like, come
Yeah.
on, come on.
I mean, even the little hints of personality in '07 when he freaking spins and jumps on the car. It was Jazz. That was so Jazz.
He was so true to form Jazz.
Yeah, and then
he
he
got
died.
and then he got shit on by Megatron like
And you
a
know
half
what's the
hour later.
saddest part of it?
What?
That I saw an interview with like Michael Bay and some of the writers, and they said that if it wasn't for the fact that they weren't like aware if they were going to make a sequel, they wouldn't have killed Jazz.
God damn it.
Wow.
Jazz just died because it was supposed to be, like a one-off thing. That's why they also killed Megatron.
Damn. That sucks.
And yeah, of course they had to revive Megatron. They couldn't bring back Jazz.
No
Ah,
one cares about Megatron. What just back?
Oh, Jazz. Who is Megatron? Come on.
Jazz
Just
needs a
just,
break
just
from being
bring
killed.
Galvatron into the next movie.
Yeah, please. They could have just bring in, or we could have just had King Starscream, and they could have bring back Jazz.
Dude, Starscream was so underused in the Bay movies, it makes me angry.
Oh, you're talking about. Oh, so we're talking about underused now. Oh, you're really gonna
Oh
try do me like
no.
that?
To be fair, I think like over half the characters were underused. Not even over half. I think maybe all of the Transformers, except for like maybe some of like the main ones, were just underused.
Okay,
No.
what I do mean by that is Starscream had the potential to be like top tier like villain, like main villain for one of the
Yeah.
movies, and then was just goofily killed off. But this is coming from the Starscream simp that I am, so
Yeah. Okay, so
That just I don't mean to interrupt. That just made me think of another thing. I was about to say like I hope they don't kill Cliffjumper off in the next movies. But I just remembered because if Rise of the Beast takes place, well, yeah, it definitely is going to take place in it's going to take place after Bumblebee. He's already dead already, so isn't that just great?
he should just show up with like weld marks and duct tape holding him
He
together.
should. That's just not like I'm mad about that because like they
mm,
killed him off and now they're continuing like the Nightverse and stuff
I
or like
mean,
whatever
and
it's
then
gonna be
again,
called.
it was because they weren't sure if they weren't going to reboot the franchise or make it as a prequel to the Bayverse.
Yeah, oh my god.
Like Cliffjumper wasn't even in the Bayverse. They could have just been like, "We'll leave you here to die," after they like brutally like hit him.
Yeah,
You know,
like they could have just injured him a bunch and then just be like, okay, yeah, we're leaving you there. And then
because
like, he's still alive, but he's injured. Like that, they could have just done that. But no, you had to split him in half, and now he's not coming back.
it was a cool death, but it didn't impact me at all. Like, it was
Yeah.
meaningless.
Oh my god. Yeah, I just thought about that. I was just like, oh yeah, I hope they don't kill him off. I was like, oh wait, shit. They already did.
Too late.
And they also killed off Blitzwing too. That was kind of,
Yeah, but I
sucks.
think they killed Blitzwing off, like, in particular. Because there's so many pieces in place for him to come back as his G1 self.
Mm.
In my opinion, like the whole, like if you think about it, Sector 7 is like so fascinated with Transformers. You know, we got 3 Decepticons that are dead and are in possession of the government.
True.
I
That
mean,
is
like,
true.
come on, dude.
They could do the split personality thing, so when they bring him back, he's just like fluctuating, like going between modes.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
Until he
awesome.
lands on
And
one.
also, if you were a military scientist, you would want to make your own transformer as OP as possible, right? So what is more OP than a tank and a jet?
Yeah,
Exactly.
that is true.
So the like literally every single piece is in place for Blitzwing to come back.
Yeah, like
I
they
just
introduced 2 triple changers into the Bumblebee movie, and neither of them are Blitzwing.
Yeah.
yeah. Like I hope they do bring him back, but like, I'm gonna be kind of mad that they don't bring him back. Because like I say, it wasn't even a triple changer. He was just a jet. Like his design was cool,
He's
but he
a
wasn't a
C.
triple changer. He was
He's a
just, yeah, he was like,
Starscream.
so. Because I remember like everyone like when they first saw him in the trailer, was like, oh my god, it's Starscream, and like
Yeah. And I
Travis was
mean,
like, no, that's wing.
and I mean, like the fact that they deliberately made it so it was originally, you know, like Starscream, but then they said like, no, you know what? Let's make it Blitzwing. I think that was on
Yeah,
purpose also, because they
yeah.
could have just made it, you know, like Thrust or Ramjet or any of the Coneheads that always dies, but they didn't. They made him Blitzwing, and I think it was for a very particular reason.
I don't know. It's kind of rough that like we're only like one movie into like this reboot, franchise for Transformers, and like someone like we've had at least like 2 characters like killed off.
They needed to have a concrete plan if it was going to be a prequel or a reboot. And I
True,
think
yeah,
they were too scared of introducing too many things. But even then, like the Bayverse kind of retconned itself a lot.
Hmm.
They could
yeah.
have just been like, hey,
Another
these
retcon.
characters exist now. Another retcon.
Just add it to the pile. It's fine.
Yeah, World
Yeah.
War II. How does that fit in? No, we can add in Cliff Jumper. That's fine. Come on.
Yeah, man. Cliff Jumper was in World War II.
Hey, didn't you see him? He was in the background.
Yeah,
He was a car.
exactly. Oh wait.
Did you guys?
Optimus
Oh,
wasn't
go
on
ahead.
Earth. Oh, he just left and came back. You know, no pressure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then act surprised about this place. I've located a planet Earth, like I
Yeah.
wasn't already there.
Act like you
I love
didn't. Act like you
continuity.
didn't speak English on Cybertron. Like a whole like. Act like you didn't speak English in the movie. We talking about. You just learned it on like,
Yeah.
Earth in 2010.
While they were arriving, he said like, "Okay, we need to leave a good impression on humans. So why don't we just invent our own language?"
Exactly. Oh no, we learned it on the internet. eBay.
We lived through eBay.
Yeah, they just literally while they were arriving, like, okay, we need a site, to connect to their technology. Ironhide just pressed, "I'm feeling lucky" on Google, and okay, the first one is eBay. Okay, we're go with that. Sounds good.
eBay.
What if they just use like Google Translate? Like they're just like.
They added the
Some.
Cybertronian one.
Yeah.
I find
It's like.
that concept like really interesting. Like Transformers don't actually speak other languages; they just use like a universal translator.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I feel like they could do that though. Honestly, like I feel like they would have the technology to do that though. Honestly,
Hmm.
It's a possibility.
I mean, I don't mind them speaking English on Cybertron and stuff because it's like it's whatever. It's the time. It's fictional. Like who cares? It's one like thing. But like
Hmm.
I think it would be cool if like they didn't actually speak English, but they just like have like the translator or something. Like they just learn the language or whatever. I think that's also cool. Like I don't really mind either or. Like if they already speak English, like how they are doing now, or if like with the Bayverse, how like they didn't speak English, but like they learned it. Like I don't really each one. It's like it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I find it fine that the Bayverse like had like for example the Decepticons that are just protoforms have speak them like Cybertronian, you know, because
yeah,
if you think about it, like you know, like it makes sense. But then again, I would have just applied it to the protoforms, you know, with then Shockwave speak
yeah,
Cybertronian, Megatron, everyone, every single Decepticon speaks Cybertronian, and then it's like, ugh.
yeah. I just thought like I mean we're speaking of retcons now. I shouldn't be doing that because the whole Bayverse is just one big retcon, honestly. But
Hmm.
um because I just remember I just thought about it because like I mean unless maybe he did it within like a split second of being reactivated, like I don't think Sentinel should have been able to speak in the nest space, right? Or at least not right away
No.
anyway. He should have been like, you know, Cybertronian language and then like later on. But
Yeah,
like
he
and
should
I
have
mean honestly yeah, go ahead.
or at least you know show like the because you know in like '07 Blackout had like the Cybertronian
Oh
whole interface thing. He could have like
yeah.
maybe read at you know like literally anything and then like immediately identify the language and then you could see maybe like his eyes flicker or something and then he starts speaking English.
Yeah. I mean
That
of
would have
course
been
it's
cool.
one red yeah. I mean of course I'm talking about one red card of like I don't even know how many in you know the franchise, but I'm just saying that I just remember that. I'm like, you know, that's you know,
Hmm.
a retcon, I think. And like, I mean, you could all, you, I mean, you could say for this like the later Decepticons too, because some of them, like, I mean, obviously they could just learn the language off screen, of course, but it's like a lot of them, like, for example, I guess like in the last night, like Onslaught Mohawk, but like those ones you could just say they learned it off screen or something, like you know, because they were already captured, but like
Yeah.
a lot of them, like, they come on screen like they already know the language. It's like
Hmm.
damn. That might have been a bad example, but like I don't know. Like I don't know. Like maybe Quintessa, for example, like which I don't know how she knew English if she was never even on Earth. At least from
Who?
the fans. I don't know.
The fact Jazz's first thing he says is "What's cracking, little bitches?" I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's I mean that's why I love so much Jazz. You know, he gets embedded with the culture.
Because just think, we could have had a scene of if he didn't die in 2007, we could have had a scene of him like blasting music from his from his like speakers in his car or something,
Yeah.
like in a robot or something. We could have had some stuff here, but we didn't get it. We didn't get it.
Imagine if instead of because you know in Revenge of the Fallen there was the twins
Yeah.
and the twins take black culture to um, a place that I learned that I'm gonna keep out of there.
Hmm.
Um, and what else? Imagine if I think Jazz could have played that part better.
Yeah. Well, I just think like it would have been really cool if like instead of like if we just had him in the films and like it just saw of like all the like scenes we could have had. Well, I say all the scenes, but like Michael Bay probably would have only gave him like one scene or like two, maybe three
Probably.
scenes in like the two movies that came after it. But like I don't know, we could have had some cool scenes with them. And that's like about with a lot of the Transformers, like not even just like the Autobots, like just like everyone. There could have been so many like cool interaction scenes that would give them personality and just more. But like they focus on like maybe like Bumblebee and like Optimus maybe as like the most, and like everyone else is just like you know the basic. You know they
Wait,
could have done a lot more.
I just remembered
What?
something. So remember that
What?
interview that I told you where it said that Jazz wouldn't have died if you know they knew they were going to make a whole franchise?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because in that same interview, they said like, okay, so Jazz is dead. What do we do now? And that's when they added Sideswipe.
Mm.
Sideswipe was the Jazz villain.
He's the
Uh,
stand-in for Jazz.
yeah,
Damn.
he literally was.
Wow.
I mean, and if you think about it, he has like all the traits. He's silver. He is like the cool, you know, like agile guy with the one-liners.
He also I remember the similarity. He only had one line in the film. No, I'm joking.
Hmm.
Well, wait, no, he had more. Well, Jazz had more than one line.
Jazz had a
I
little
can't.
bit more.
Yeah, because he spoke in like the rival scene, and then I remember he spoke when he jumped on Brawl. I can't
He
remember
spoke
exactly what
when
he
he
said,
jumped on Brawl, and in the short meetings that they had, Jess
but
also like spoke.
oh yeah, and he spoke he spoke. Yeah, oh my god, I can't in English. He spoke just before he died, and I think it was pretty much all we got of him. And then I don't even know like
Yeah, that's
did
it.
like did Sideswipe? I didn't. Sideswipe spoke like twice. He spoke like after he killed like Sideways, and then he spoke
On the
in the
jet.
desert.
Yeah.
Or because I remember he spoke because he spoke when they were in the desert when Sam was I think McKinley were running. He's like, Sam, I spotted Sam. I think it was like literally all he had. He had like 2 lines in the film.
Hmm.
And of course, I mean, some characters, of course, had even worse. Like some characters didn't speak at all, like Jolt.
I
you
think to
know,
keep things as realistic as possible, they barely brought any characters back to life. Optimus and Max don't count because plot armor. Yeah, true that.
true.
I mean, if
Y-
there's a lot of things that I would do differently, but
Yeah,
I honestly, like 100% honestly, I would have brought back Jazz. I mean, I would have brought back characters if I did the Bayverse, but I would have brought them down. Like, for example, I would have left Starscream as the main villain in 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 Revenge of the Fallen. You know, have Shockwave for Dark of the Moon, and then Galvatron, who's basically Megatron. You know, comes in AOE.
yeah. Well, that's the thing that like you can really notice it in the films. Like for some reason, they always bring back Megatron, even though they don't really need him. Like the first movie, yeah, like that was fine,
Mhm.
and like even maybe like the last night, yeah, it's like, but like I feel like after like they just keep bringing him back, but you already have villain like because after the first one, he gets like sidelined, like he's like the secondary villain almost to like
I mean,
these other villains kind of thing.
he's the secondary villain in all of them except for. I mean, I feel he's the secondary villain in all of them except for the end of AOE. And that is why I like AOE so much because Galvatron, you know, he's set up as this mess, you know, like Megatron's back, baby. He's finally gonna
Yeah,
have the spotlight, and then Quintessa and Nemesis, and it's like,
yeah,
I would
yeah,
love
yeah.
if they were to do something where there's the two personalities inside of him, maybe like Galvatron and Megatron are now in one form after
Oh
meeting
yeah,
Quintessa, and then eventually Galvatron fully breaks out,
that'd be cool.
and we get him as a separate villain. 'Cause I love Galvatron so much, and I think he wasn't great. I loved his design for as interesting as it was in TF4. Um, I would have liked to see more with Galvatron eventually.
hmm.
Yeah. It's weird watching the films and just like looking at all the, like the wasted potential in it. Like, there's so much of it. Like it's kind of sad. Like I mean, I like the films. Like I mean, not for like I like it for like the actual Transformers themselves. Not really. Like I guess like Sam, like I like him Sam too, but like I don't like it for like the especially in TF2, like all the sexual jokes. Oh my god, man, I want to die. But you know, other than that, like I like the films for the Transformers, but like even then, like they did. I don't know. They wasted a lot of characters. At least in my opinion, they did.
I think that's why the project we have going on right now is sort of a perfect thing because it's from a fan's perspective of how the series should have gone or the
Yeah,
tone of maybe something, and so we can emulate what was put in place, but maybe improve upon a few things,
Hmm.
whilst also respecting the original view.
yeah. Because I mean, that's like the one thing I do like about this. Because like people I know, like I see sometimes like comments like you're like, oh, you know, like well, I want like an actual official, you know, film. Like I want an official TF6 from like from like Paramount, like, Hasbro and stuff.
Hmm.
But like you know, with this being a fan project, it's like you know, it being made by fans. Like I feel like the fans know what the fans want. So it's like I feel like this would definitely turn out probably the best of like obviously the fan film. It's not an official film, of course, but I feel like this would probably turn out better than all the other films because like it's made by fans and the fans, you know, we know what the fans like want. So like, you know, we can try our best to, you know, make it the best we can make it for the fans and like, you know, that kind of stuff.
A film for fans by fans.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
And plus, just like the passion of this project is just unbelievable. As like I said, it's made by fans, and like for I think like everyone in this project, even like the fans like themselves, it's just like they care a lot about like these films, even if they aren't like the best. People care a lot about these films, and like it's just the passion even going to this project from because people are I think pretty much everyone in this project are fans of the films. They're fans of Transformers in some degree. Just I don't know. It's just the passion. It's just I don't know. It's amazing, honestly, to like just see the whole passion in this project
It just goes
from
to show
everyone.
how much people care about it that they're so willing to spend their money to create something like this just to put an end to a story that, you know, might be a little
Yeah.
flawed, but even though those flaws are really apparent in some cases, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter in the end.
No.
You know?
Yeah. It's just like it's I don't know. Like I mean I think I don't know. I've probably said this before to like to people on calls here, maybe like in other live streams, but I've had so many people through this project. It's it's kind of insane.
Yeah.
So many talented and nice people. Like I can't really complain about anyone. 'Cause everyone's just so nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everyone's talented. Like like when no matter if they're like a producer or like a script writer or voice actor or concept artist or a CGI artist, whatever the case, everyone is talented and nice, and I love seeing it. It's just awesome. And that's why I'm so thankful to be in this project because it just everyone is so great.
Yes, sir.
I agree as well.
But no, I don't know. I've probably said that a couple times in streams that I've been on. It wouldn't surprise me. So I'm sorry if I'm saying that too many times. Sorry, everyone. Sorry. I know it's probably getting old, but
Anyway, well, we've hit the 2 hour mark, so I'd say this is a good and wholesome also place to end.
but Martini, I was only here for like an hour and a half. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
And if you wouldn't mind, I would like to promote my project that I've been working on for a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Um
Oh yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of similar to what we're doing here, but it's a little bit harder of a pitch. I have been working with a few close friends for around 8 years now, writing and developing an adaptation of, this is going to sound crazy, but the Super Mario Brothers games into a short live action series.
Yeah.
And I have, oh, what's it called? Well, if you go to my art Instagram page, C3 Artworks, um I think my second to last recent post links you to the page that my friend's running, where I have some of the concept art that I've done for that. I'm the director and lead concept artist of the project, and it would mean a lot if you could check it out, because that's where the majority of my concept art experience has come from. And yeah, it's it's a very different show than what you're probably thinking. And yeah, it would be great if some people were to check it out and keep an eye out for updates because we started filming last week.
Oh,
And yeah,
very
I'll
cool.
be sure to check it. I didn't know about that actually.
awesome.
I'll be sure to
Well, thank
check
you for this experience. It was very awesome finally being on the podcast. Sorry for the 2 month delay on my appearance,
it.
but yeah, pleasure to
No
be on the show.
problem, man. Love to have you.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you. And I'm sorry everyone again for being late. Feel bad about that, but I got here I guess in the end. But I'm sorry for being late. I'm sorry to you, Pepsi Man. I know I mean I know you still have Martini here, but I'm sorry. I wasn't here for a while.
That was all right. All right.
It's okay. Well,
I completely understand.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't planning to do anything today at all. Like, I was even talking to Martini. I was like, oh yeah, I'm not doing anything today. And then, of course, I go out just to take like my dog to the beach, and then I end up doing like other stuff. And I got like busy, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta get back because like live stream, and I told Martina I would be here.
Mhm.
But you know, I apologize though. I'm sorry I was late.
No problem. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Pepsi Man again. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being here as a guest, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Take care.
See you
Bye-bye.
guys.